Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee Concert number 2. I just wanted to give you a little bit of context before we get into the concert. We did not record the concert in one day. In fact, we're using footage from the past few months. Some footage intended for coffee concerts, some footage intended for other projects, and we thought it best to actually include them all in the coffee concerts. So there are a few irregularities along the way, and I just wanted to give you a heads up. For instance, about halfway through, Jay Turvey shows up, and I don't even bother to introduce him. How rude is that? And then towards the end of the concert, when we're doing our final song, I announce, and for our first song, little things like that. So just wanted to let you know about that, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the concert regardless. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Paul.
Welcome to our second coffee concert of the 2020 season at the Shaw Festival. I'm Paul Sportelli, I'm the music director at the festival, and I'm really glad you could join us for this concert. So we're going to kick off today with two sonatinas, one by Muzio Clementi and another by Erik Satie. Let me tell you a little bit about these two composers. Clementi is a composer of the classical period. He actually lived to be 80 years old, which at that time, that's old. He was born a few years before Mozart, and he actually lived a few years beyond Beethoven. Beethoven's death, that is. And Erik Satie is a composer from the end of the 19th century into the 20th century. So the Sonatina of Clementi that I'm going to play is from 1797. And the sonatina, or I should say sonatine, of Satie is from 1917, written 130 years after the Clementi. And the reason I'm pairing these pieces is Satie was doing a parody of this particular Clementi sonatina. The Satie piece is called Sonatine Bureaucratique, or Bureaucratic Sonatine. I don't know that that really has anything to do with the Clementi, but it's sort of fun, and we'll talk more about that eventually. Clementi wrote his sonatina when he was 45. Just want to make sure I got that right. Yes. And Satie wrote his Sonatine Bureaucratique when he was 51. So in terms of the Clementi, one of the things that's really fun about sonatinas, both the Clementi and the Satie, and sonatinas in general, is sonatina means little sonata. And so we're dealing with sonata form, but we're basically just shrinking it down and employing concision in our composition. And it's always fun to hear a piece progress, but one of the fun things about a sonatina is it progresses so much more quickly that you move from first theme to second theme, and then a repetition of that, into development, into recapitulation so quickly. It happens in a minute and a half. And so it's really satisfying to hear things unfold, I think. The other thing I wanted to mention about the Clementi that I find notable is the use of Alberti bass, and I'll explain what that is. It's named after Domenico Alberti, although he was not the first one to use it. Anyway, this is what Alberti bass is. That kind of arpeggiation of a chord. And what I find interesting about that is it's one of the things we most associate with the classical period, especially in terms of keyboard writing. And yet I think it came about for a very practical reason. The pianos of the time were far less resonant than the pianos we have today. So if I play this chord right now, you're still hearing it, you're still hearing it, still hearing it. Anyway, it would go on for quite a while. Whereas if I give an impersonation of a piano of the period, it might be something like this. And the sound would just dissipate, it would just disappear. So composers felt like they needed to keep the harmony alive, they needed to keep something going on. And so if this is just going to disappear, that isn't going to disappear. It's keeping the harmony alive in time. And I think that's something you're going to hear, this Alberti bass technique, in both the Clementi and the Settee. So now to jump to the Settee, let's jump 130 years ahead. The Settee is a parody of the Clementi. But I kind of have mixed feelings about that word parody because it makes it seem like that's the point of it all. My feeling is the Settee is such a beautiful and creative and whimsical piece that even if you didn't know the Clementi, it's worth listening to. It's a piece that in and of itself is worth interest. And I just thought that was worth mentioning off the top. One of the interesting things about this piece, because Satie was doing a take on Clementi, it actually made him, in a way, one of the first neoclassical composers. And this is 2 or 3 years before Stravinsky started really getting into neoclassicism, and we think of him as sort of the main proponent of neoclassicism. But Satie, who really was a maverick and an innovator in so many ways, through this piece and this looking back at Clementi, he really gave a start to neoclassicism, even though we usually think of it in terms of Stravinsky. So what I'm going to encourage you not to do is don't listen to both pieces, or in particular, don't listen to the Satie trying to hear exactly how it's parodying the Clementi every step of the way. What I encourage you to do is just go for a ride, not only with the Clementi, but with the Satie. And you will probably hear connections, you will hear references to the Clementi, and go ahead and enjoy them when you hear them. But try to experience the piece as a whole. That would be my thought for how to move forward. Now, the great thing about the fact that these concerts are recorded is you could watch it as many times as you want. Like if you, I think I already made it clear, I'm not going to do an exhaustive study of Clementi, Satie. Here's exactly what Satie was referring to every step of the way. You could do your own, right? You could do your own survey. You could watch this concert as many times as you like until you feel like you've made every connection. That's entirely up to you. I want to mention 3 things in particular about the Satie. In the third movement, they're kind of fun. First of all, he gives a tempo indication for the third movement. And one would expect vivace. We almost get the word vivace, which would mean quickly or fast. But instead of vivace, he inserts an H as the second to last letter, which then gives us vivanche. And no, not vivanche, vivace. Sorry about that. And vache, V-A-C-H-E, in French is cow. So he's having a bit of fun here. The piece is full of good humor and whimsy, and I think this is just one of his little in-jokes. But the other thing that's kind of fun about that, speaking of cows, is it is said that when Satie was on his deathbed, his final words were, "Ah, the cows." Now, the interesting thing about that and about this tempo indication, vivace, is that there's also a derogatory sort of slang, well, there's a slang use of vache, which is derogatory and could mean bastard. So who knows, maybe when Satie was saying, "Ah, the cows," as he left this earth, maybe he was talking about animals, but maybe he was saying, "Ah, the bastards." Who knows? Two other things that I find notable in this piece. Towards the end of the third movement, there is a run, and it's in parallel motion. And whenever we move in parallel motion, we tend to move in thirds and sixths because that follows the rules of harmonic movement, the rules of counterpoint, that kind of thing. So this is what you might expect. So I've harmonized that melody in thirds and sixths. Sounds great, right? Well, I think Satie has some fun here because he uses parallel fifths throughout this run, and on occasion even uses a tritone. Tritone, not an interval you want to use. It's known as the devil in music, bad, bad, bad. Anyway, this is how Satie, I'm playing it slowly, but this is how Satie harmonizes this. So it's very irreverent, flies in the face of all good harmonic writing, all good counterpoint, but I think he's having some fun there. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is in this third movement, there's this section that is very kind of passionate and emotional. It seems a little less whimsical than the movement generally. And you get this kind of writing. I'm playing under tempo, just so you could hear it. But it reminds me of something. I don't know if it reminds you of anything. It reminds me of Puccini's Vissi d'arte, the aria that goes like this. And I checked, and Puccini had already written that aria, so who knows if that's a little nod to Puccini there, perhaps. The other thing that is really interesting about this Satie piece, and also makes Satie a real innovator, is his use of a narrative. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute and introduce a special guest. But before I do that, I have a confession to make, which is that on this concert and on our first coffee concert, we are using something called MIDI. And MIDI is an acronym. It stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And let me just tell you a little bit about MIDI. So as you know, I'm in my living room. I'm playing on a keyboard. It's a very good keyboard. I'm very happy with it. But this keyboard is hooked up to MIDI as well. And all that means is that everything I do at this keyboard is being registered digitally, whether that be playing loud or soft, with pedal or not, playing quickly, playing slowly, different articulations, staccato, legato, all of those things get registered. And so then what we are doing is Corey McFadgen, our technician and producer on this, he is taking that MIDI information and putting it on a much better piano. So when we recorded our first concert, after we finished all the recording, Corey started playing back one of the pieces I had played, but he was playing it on a really fancy piano, a really great piano, and it was just thrilling to hear. Because as a pianist, as any artist, you're always trying to do the best you can and put as much into the music as you can, but you're really only as good as the instrument you're on. So what was really fun for me is to hear all these things that I thought I was doing in terms of being expressive or dynamic or whatever, that kind of come through on this keyboard, but then when we hear it in MIDI, it's like that piano is able to accept that information more fully. So anyway, that's my confession, I guess, that I'm recording in MIDI. But it makes for a better listening experience for you. Anyway, moving on from that, back to the Satie. Another thing Satie did is he loved to use whimsical descriptions in his music. So, often a composer will write quickly or with feeling. You've already heard about vivace instead of vivace, right? Well, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, what does that mean? A reference to a cow. How does that affect my playing? That's the thing that Satie likes to do. He likes to leave something at your doorstep and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. So in his music, you get way more than slowly or with feeling. You get all kinds of kind of crazy, whimsical, surreal, poetic descriptions, and he leaves it to you to figure out what you're going to do with that. But the fun thing about this Sonatine Bureaucratique is he actually gives you a story. It's right there in the music. So you've got your piano writing, and above the piano writing, you get this narrative. And it's this wonderful little story. And it's a story that, even though it is whimsical and not totally realistic, making naturalistic sense, it still really affects the way I play the piece, and it really fills me in a very particular kind of way. I'm very excited that we have a special guest today, Shaw Ensemble member Gabriela Sundar Singh. She is going to read the narration of the Satie. Satie specified that he didn't want the narration to be read during the performance of the piano piece. So we're not going to do that, but we're going to have Gabriela read it before I play the piece. So, in terms of how we're going to kick off today, first we're going to meet Gabriela. We're going to talk about the Satie a little bit, and then I'm going to play the Clementi. Gabriela will read the Satie narration, and then I'm going to play the Satie. So here we go. Hey, Gabby.
Hi, Paul.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you could be here. I think this is going to be really fun collaborating on this piece with you.
I think so too.
So when I sent you this piece with the narration, what was your first take on it? What were your impressions?
My first take when I saw this piece, Paul, was a little bit of confusion because I've never seen a narration over a classical piece. Any other classical music I've come across, perhaps there's lyrics that go with it, but this was specifically a narration, which I found very interesting. And it does lead the piece in a really beautiful way once you understand how they work together. But there was definitely some initial confusion, but it was fun figuring that out.
Yeah, I mean, Satie was a real trailblazer in terms of not only putting very unusual, lengthy descriptions in his music, like he will go beyond moderately or with feeling, like he puts all kinds of very whimsical descriptions in the music sometimes for the performer to figure out what it means. But I think in this piece in particular, the fact that he gives a narration, I know that as the player of this piece, the narration has definitely impacted how I approach the piece. And I think it's a really fun, like one of the things that's always great about Satie, I think, is that sense of whimsy that he has in telling a story. So I immediately thought of you as someone who would be perfect to read this narration for us.
Thank you, Paul. And this is my first introduction to Satie, so this has been a really exciting period of discovery of a composer that I'm not familiar with, discovery of a new way to tell story, which is narration over music that I haven't explored before. And then I was doing a bit of research. I read some very dense but beautiful essay about the aesthetic of administration, and this very witty, but frankly for me, kind of sad story behind the man in this piece. Mm-hmm. That was a really interesting discovery as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with Satie, there's definitely this sense of whimsy and humor and the fantastical or the absurd, the surreal, but also there's a great deal of sadness. And whether we want to equate that with his life that also had a great deal of sadness in it, whether we want to do that or not, that's up to us and up to everyone in the audience. But yeah, I think this is far beyond jokey. So I think the fact that you sense this subterranean sadness in there is very interesting, and it's something that's definitely there.
Right, and I definitely picked up, I think, on the whimsy in terms of there's kind of like I don't know how to say it, but paradoxical like structure inside the narration. So you'll have two things or two ideas that clash up against each other, but are in the same thought or sentence. So that seems very whimsical and playful, but also in the translation that we've chosen to work with, I I ended up messaging a few of my French speaking friends back in Montreal and was asking them for different translations, especially when we get to the term like "on se gavillon" and is this a real term? What does it mean? What context is it used in? So there's a bit of whimsy, I think, in the liberal use of language for whatever you want language to be.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, he was as innovative in his use of language as he was with music, and it really does make one question things in a really wide open way that we don't often have to with other creative writers.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course you can.
Did you see this man as you were playing it or as you first saw the music or read it? Can you see him or do you know who he is?
I feel like, yes, I feel like I have a sense of him, and I carry that in me as I play the piece. I almost feel like I have a constant relationship with him, and what is the music in relation to him. Often when I work with singers, I'll talk about in a song, what is the relationship of the accompaniment to you? Like, is the
Right.
accompaniment you? Is the accompaniment your adversary? Is the accompaniment nature? Just to give a few examples. But with this piece, I feel like it shifts and modulates throughout in terms of, am I the man? Am I the piano?
Right.
Am I his environment? Am
Right.
I the thing that he's feeling? That's butting up against him. So it's a fascinating piece in that way.
That's right. Because I can say at least for the third movement, it's I think it's in the third movement. It's very clear when I think the accompaniment that we're hearing is the piano that's being spoken of. But right, what is it? What is it, or who is it in the other movements? That's so cool. Okay,
Yeah, it's very fun.
Thank you for noting that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, shall we give it a go?
I think so. Yes, please.
Let's do it.
off he goes. He cheerfully makes his way to his office, en ce gavillon, gorging himself as he goes. Happy, he nods his head. He loves a pretty and very elegant lady. He also loves his pen holder, his green lustrin sleeves, and his cap he got on a vacation from a faraway place. He takes long strides, rushes at the stairs, which he climbs on his back. What a wind! Seated in his armchair, he is happy and shows it. He thinks about his promotion. Maybe he will get a raise without needing a promotion. He hopes to move in the next quarter. He has an apartment in mind, provided the raise of the promotion happens. New dreams of the promotion. He hums an old Peruvian air that he learned from a worthless composer in Lower Brittany. A neighboring piano plays Clementi. How sad this is. He dares to waltz, him, not the piano. All of this, very sad. The piano resumes its work. Our friend questions himself benevolently. The cold Peruvian air goes to his head again. The piano continues. Alas, he must leave his office, his dear office. Courage. Let's go, he says.
Abby, that was fantastic. Thank you.
That was so much fun, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye. So now we're ready to do our first song for you.
But we're not going to tell you what it is until after we've done it, and you will realize why after. Once by a word only lightly spoken, all your dreams are broken for a while. Sadness comes and joy goes by. But every tear, like the rain descending, finds a happy ending in a smile. Doubts and fears all fade and die to the blue beyond the gray. Love again will find its way. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't So now you know why we didn't tell you the name of the song. And maybe, Paul, you can talk about what the introductory verse is.
Sure. So the introductory verse is a section of the song that starts the song, but it comes before the song proper. The song proper is the part of the song that everyone knows, but a lot of these introductory verses are quite unfamiliar to a lot of people. But they're almost always great, and they're always really useful in how we get into the song in a really potent way.
So that was, of course, Over the Rainbow. Not Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but Over the Rainbow. That's the title. It's from 1939. It was written by Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg. And there are actually two introductory verses. One of them might be more well known to some people, But that one we discovered along the way, and it feels very appropriate for this time, so we wanted to feature that one. The other thing we wanted to talk about in this song is the octave leap. So that, I think, is one of the most iconic and famous octave leaps in popular music. It so suits that lyric, that sense of somewhere, this place that is far away, and that octave leap just helps us realize how far away this dream is for this young girl.
I love the bridge section of the song, and that is the section that goes like this. And what I love about it, first of all, I love that Harold Arlen trusted in being simple. It's just a two-note motif with a slight alteration. And it serves as a kind of motor, I think, so that we sort of build up intensity, and then when we get back into the part of the song we know, it kind of opens the song up in a really special way.
The simplicity, I just want to build on that. The lyrics throughout this are incredibly simple. They're very almost childlike in a way, which of course suits writing for this character. But I think that is part of the appeal of this piece, is that it's not complicated, it's not ironic, it's not trying too hard. It's just a really beautiful, simple lyric with a gorgeous melody.
Agreed.
Oh, Paul,
What is it, Jay?
I think I hear someone at the back gate.
Oh, I do too.
It's a yoo-hoo from Jacqueline Thayer.
Hey,
Hello.
Jacqueline.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You're looking nice and summery.
Yes, well, it's 28 today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes.
So, you're at the back of the screen door for...
No, I'm just here.
Oh, you're just here. Okay, nice to see
Well,
you.
why don't you sing a song while you're here?
I'm gonna sing People Will Say We're in Love from Oklahoma.
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
That's Oklahoma 1943,
That's
Rodgers
the
and
one.
Hammerstein?
Yes, that's
Okay, not the other Oklahoma.
What is it that you like about this song, or that drew you to this song?
At first I was looking for an up-tempo soprano, and those are usually hard to find because there's a lot of belts up-tempos, so it fit that box there. And then I also liked it because Laurie, the character who sings the song, is very much in control of the situation, and I like that, especially for such a period piece, to have a stronger kind of character. And then I also like how there's a dream ballet, and I just thought it would be so wonderful to get to do both. So yeah.
Are you going to do the Dream Ballet for us today in the backyard?
I am.
Amazing.
One of the things I love about this lyric, and it's true of lyrics like If I Loved You, If I Were a Rich Man, is instead of this song being We're in Love, it's People Will Say We're in Love, which is a kind of container of sorts. It puts the character in a nice place where there's a kind of push and pull, or a real dynamic, something that you can play around with.
Absolutely. They're protected, but they can be vulnerable when they decide to be.
Yeah, and it allows you to be a little cagey, right? As you say, it allows her to very much be in control.
Yeah.
This is the list of do's and don'ts.
Yes.
This is the list of don'ts, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
no do's.
Yeah, no do's. Except that I do love you,
Right.
which we know.
Both of us, all of us, the whole
Yeah.
town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone in the audience knows as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. Just
Oh.
denial. Yeah.
Okay, well, without further ado,
Yeah, let's do it.
let's hear the
Great.
song.
Why do they think up stories that link my name with yours? Why do the neighbors chatter all day behind their doors? I know a way to prove what they say is quite untrue. Here is the gist, a practical list of don'ts for you. Don't throw bouquets at me. Don't please
Thank you for playing.
Jacqueline, that was beautiful. I love hearing you sing that beautiful song.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to sing it.
Great, great.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming to our screen door.
Thank you for having me. I hope to come back again.
Great, great. Now, Dream Ballet out of here. Bye, Jack.
Bye.
Oh, Paul,
What is it, Jay?
I hear somebody at the back gate.
Do you?
Who could it be? Oh, it's
Hey.
handsome Pete Fernandez.
Hi, Paul and Jay.
What are you thinking about singing for us?
Well, in my back pocket, I have It Ain't Necessarily So from Porgy and Bess.
Awesome.
That could
Great
work.
song.
Great song. That's from 1935.
Yes.
The Gershwins.
The Gershwins. Yes, yes.
From their opera Porgy and Bess.
Yes, exactly. So, what do we want to say about this song?
What drew you to this song?
Well, in this song, there's a lot of call and response, and I was really attracted to that engagement of the audience in that way. And I think somebody who does that really well is Cab Calloway. And Cab Calloway played Sportin' Life, who's the character who sings this in Porgy and Bess in the 1950s. He got to play that, and so similar to what drew me to songs like Minnie the Moocher, there are similar aspects to this song. You have Sportin' Life, who's talking to a congregation of people, and they're responding to his calls. And I think that's really fantastic when you can engage in that way with an audience watching Porgy and Bess, that they want to be drawn in that way. There's a lot of opportunity for showmanship in that, and I think that's really attractive as a performer to get to do. So that's what drew me to the song.
Amazing.
Originally.
That's great.
Beautiful lyrics too, huh? Really catchy,
Yes.
smart. What's the abdomen line?
Oh, Jonah, he lived in a whale, for he made his home in that fish's abdomen. Oh, Jonah, he lived in a whale.
Amazing.
I think it's
Amazing.
really, really
Let's-
smart.
Let's talk about Porgy and Bess.
Yes, let's
Yes.
talk about Porgy and Bess. This was a really great opportunity to get to look at the history of such an iconic, important, and also problematic opera. Looking back at Porgy and Bess, you have a very important moment in opera history where George Gershwin insists that Black performers sing Porgy and Bess through a history of the Met and large institutions not allowing that. Having performers in blackface, which is incredibly problematic. And you have George Gershwin going, no, I want to have African American performers in this, and it's a great way to highlight that talent. However, the story and the root of the issue, in Porgy and Bess, it's steeped in the era's stereotypes. I've been reading this fantastic book called The Strange Career of Porgy and Bess by Ellen Noonan, and she goes into great detail about how Porgy and Bess is received, even in its time of inception, even from the beginning when it was based on Du Bois Hayward's novel Porgy, and then later into a play called Porgy, and then into the musical. At every stage, there are problems, there are critiques about who has the authority to tell the story of the African American experience in the American South. And a lot of white critics said that Du Bois Hayward and George Gershwin, the Gershwins, they had that authority because they were on the outsides of those communities looking in. Whereas a lot of other critics, Black critics, said that that wasn't true, that this is a very narrow experience, and what Du Bois Hayward and the Gershwins chose to include or exclude from Porgy and Bess supports a lot of negative stereotypes in the African American community. A lot of Black critics said that Porgy and Bess, again, was an amazing opportunity for African American opera singers to perform. But because it was the only opportunity and one of the only stories being put forward at that time, a lot of white audiences would leave the performances thinking that that was an accurate portrayal and all that they needed to know about the African American experience in the South, which is inaccurate.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because the music is so glorious and people love singing it. But sort of baked into the foundation of this piece is something that's problematic, and I think that's never going to go away. So I think, yeah, Porgy and Bess will always remain very controversial.
Yes, I even between its inception and now, you had the revival that I was familiar with Cab Calloway, and the U.S. touted that as an image, as propaganda for how the United States treated the African American community, seeing that, oh, look at all this talent that's available, but never addressed that was taking the opportunity away from a Black composer or Black writers, and it continues to be this problem. Yes, there are other pieces of art now, and there's more variety in art now, but still, Porgy and Bess, because of its gorgeous music, stands as this pillar on which to hang all representation, and it really shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that. It should exist in amongst a lot of Black composers, a lot of work by Black composers, and it shouldn't be the only opportunity that we see Black opera singers be at the center of the storytelling on stage. It shouldn't be the only instance that we see that.
I've got a quote here from the composer and music critic Virgil Thompson, who says, "Folklore subjects recounted by an outsider are only valid as long as the folk in question is unable to speak for itself."
Yeah.
And I think that is not the case.
No,
It's not the
that
case.
is not the case.
It's not the case.
I think it's also interesting, Duke Ellington and George Gershwin were friends, but Duke Ellington flatly rejected the notion that a white composer could be hailed as the writer of a Negro opera. And that's a quote, a Negro opera. But yeah, it's tricky. It's very problematic.
So, given all that, Peter, what do you make of singing this song, and why do you want to sing this song?
Well, this song, given all the history that I have now been able to go into and dive into, the song transforms for me and doesn't just criticize, in the context of the show, it criticizes the Bible and reading that text and not taking it at face value. And I think now that lesson can be applied to Porgy and Bess. So Porgy and Bess, it ain't necessarily what it set out to be. It ain't necessarily the entire complete experience of the African American in the South. It's not that. And you should take Porgy and Bess with a grain of salt. And that's a way that you can continue to appreciate it and appreciate its context in history and its context now.
That's a great way to take ownership. Yeah. All right, I will leave you two to it.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
It ain't necessarily so. It ain't necessarily so. The things that you're liable to read in your Bible, they ain't necessarily so. Little David was small, but oh my. Little David was small, but oh my. He fought big Goliath, who lay down and dieth. Little David was small, but oh my. Oh, I do. Zip, zam, zoodaloo. Who did a wada? Scotty wah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Jonah, he lived in the whale. Oh, Jonah, he lived in the whale, for he made his home in that fish's abdomen. Oh, Jonah, he lived in the whale. Little Moses was found in a stream. Little Moses was found in a stream. He floated on water till old Pharaoh's daughter fished him, she said, from that stream. Oh, I do. Zip, zam, zoodaloo. Who did water? Scotty wah. necessarily so. It ain't necessarily so. They tell all you chillin', the devil's a villain, but ain't necessarily so. To get into heaven, don't snap for no 7. Live clean now, have no fault. Yeah, I takes that gospel wherever it's possible, but with a grain of salt. Methuselah lived 900 years. Methuselah lived 900 years. But who called that living when no guile a giving to no man what's 900 years? I'm preaching this sermon to show it ain't necessarily so.
Yeah, Peter, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Peter, that is a perfect song for you. You sound amazing.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So thank you for tripping into our screen door, and hopefully we'll see you another time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Step over this.
Hey, look who's at the screen door.
It's James Daly.
It's James.
It's James Daly. Hi,
Hi, Paul
James.
and Jay. Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you
Good,
guys?
good, good. Very well. I think you're here to sing a song, probably.
I am definitely here to sing a song through the screen door, and the song is called "I've Never Been in Love Before" from the musical Guys and Dolls.
Written by Frank Lesser in 1950.
There you have it.
I have it right here.
Perfect.
Can you give us a little background on why you like this song or what drew you to it?
Yeah, sure. Well, Guys and Dolls is my favorite musical, and that's because I remember seeing a high school production of it back in St. John's, Newfoundland, where I grew up, and I was in grade 9 and about to go into high school, and my sister was 2 years older than me, so she was in the high school and she was in the production, and a bunch of her guy friends who I knew and looked up to were in the show as well, and were playing Sky and Nathan and you know, all the gangster crap shooter characters, and I just thought I had never seen anything like it before, and I thought it was so cool, and I thought they were really brave for being in the show as well, because I don't know, when you're that age, it's not necessarily the coolest thing to be singing and dancing, but they were going for it and really killing it, and I was like, I want to do that too. And so yeah, it's been one of my favorite shows, well, probably my favorite show ever since. And this song I think is one of the highlights of the score. I think it's a beautiful song and I love singing it, so that's why I chose it.
Cool.
That's great.
Let's just talk about the introductory
Sure.
verse. This is a substantial introductory verse, right? It's
Yeah.
a real big setup. Maybe you can talk about
Well,
it.
so much so that he gives it its own name,
Right.
right? It's called My Time of Day, which is kind of a mini song introductory verse, which then leads into the song proper, the larger song, I've Never Been in Love Before.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even really consider that. I had heard of the My Time of Day little song snippet, but I didn't even really realize that it kind of was a setup for the main song, and so I've never sang it before, but was asked to learn it for this and was excited to do that. So yeah, we're gonna add that onto the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's quite adventurous, isn't it? I mean,
Yes,
musically,
it's very adventurous harmonically. It moves around key-wise quite a bit, melodically as well, and then it does what introductory verses often do really, really well, which is there's something in it that kind of catapults us into the song. Jay, do you guys
Right,
wanna
right.
talk about that?
Yeah, sure. There's this whole, I mean, this great poetic, simple yet beautiful description of what that mood is in the city in the morning. But then the last line is what launches us into the song, and the last line is
You're the only doll I've ever wanted to share it with me, which is a perfect setup for I've Never Been in Love Before. He's totally out of his element and in new territory and excited about it, but not sure how to process it, which is a great place to be in. to sing a song.
Well, you're in a great place to be in.
I'm in a great place to be in to sing a song too.
So why don't you?
All right, let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
My time of day is the dark time, a couple of deals before dawn, when the street belongs to the cop and the janitor with the mop, and the grocery clerks are all gone, when the smell of the rain-washed pavement comes up clean and fresh and cold, and the street lamp light fills the gutter with gold. That's my time of day, my time of day. And you're the only doll I've ever wanted to share it with me. I've never been in love before. Now all at once it's you forevermore. I've never been in love before. I thought my heart was safe. I thought I knew the score. But this is wine that's all too strange and strong. I'm full of foolish song, and out my song must pour. So please forgive this helpless haze I'm in. I've really never been in love before. I've never been in love before. Now all at once it's you forevermore. I've never been in love before. I thought my heart was safe. I thought that I knew the score. But this is wine that's all too strange and strong. I'm full of foolish song, and out my song must pour. So please forgive this helpless haze I'm in. I've really never been in love before.
That was great, James. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Love
Jed.
the jazzy ending.
Oh, me too. I love the swing, you know.
No, it was really great. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes.
All right, see you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Why, look who's at our screen door. Hey, it's Elodie Gillett.
Hello.
Welcome, Elodie.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm really good.
Good.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to sing for us today?
I'm gonna sing Always by Irving Berlin.
Gorgeous. Beautiful song. Beautiful songwriter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my grandfather's favorite songs, so I'm very happy you chose that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us about the song?
Well, a fun fact I came across was that it was written as a wedding gift for Irving Berlin's wife. And not only did he offer her the song, but he offered her the royalties as well.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's
Which-
generous.
Right.
Yes.
And Irving Berlin it was written in 1925,
That's
I believe.
right.
And I think of all the classic composers, he's the most open-hearted and unironic. He's just simple but beautiful in a very heartwarming way.
Yeah, there's something I find very conversational about his lyrics, and as a composer, he's not afraid to keep it simple. So the melodies, they're real earworms. You know, these tunes, they're hard to get out of your head, for sure. And there's something about the composition that just seems so iconic that even if you don't know the song, you feel as if somehow you do.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What drew you to this song, or what do you like?
Well, Kelly O'Hara has a recording of this song, which I am completely obsessed with. So every time that my husband and children leave the house, the first thing I do is I go to this song and I crank it because I just love the way she sings it and I like to sing along.
Nice.
Well, I'm sure you're going to sing it beautifully as well. Shall we dive in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Dreams will all come true, growing old with you, and time will fly, carrying each day more than the day before, till spring rolls by. And when the springtime has gone, then will my love linger on. I'll be loving you always, with a love that's true always. When the things you've planned need a helping hand, I will understand always, always. Days may not be fair always. That's when I'll be there always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always.
That was just great, Elodie. Thank you so much. Thank you for singing so beautifully and for coming to our screen door.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. The first song we're going to do for you today is The Way You Look Tonight, which is by Jerome Kern and Dorothy Fields. It's from 1936, from a movie called Swing Time.
Dorothy Fields is notable for being one of the only female lyricists working at this time in the popular music form. She wrote songs all the way from On the Sunny Side of the Street up to Big Spender from Sweet Charity.
And Jerome Kern was a very prolific composer and just a wonderful composer when it comes to harmonies and melodies. I'm going to nerd out for just 1 second and point out something that I think is notable about this melody that I think makes it incredibly memorable. So we get those 5 notes repeated again, but up a full step, then up a half step, and now it tops out at the octave, and we're back down again. So again, that kind of rising and falling, I think it really adds so much to this song.
And in fact, the top of that octave is the word love, which is what the song is all about. I love the way this song is existing in the present, but the protagonist is also stepping outside of the song and thinking about the future. So it's a really interesting perspective to be both in the moment and outside of the moment. Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Oh, but you're lovely, with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft. There is nothing for me but to love you and the way you look tonight. With each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Lovely, never, never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it, 'cause I love you just the way you look tonight. With each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Lovely, never, never change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it, 'cause I love you just the way you look tonight. Just the way you look tonight.
So glad you could join us for Coffee Concert number 2. Hope to see you at our next one.